Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag. Welcome in. It is the last day of March, so we are here on a Monday at the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast. It is I, Adam Marino. I am back. I think my voice has not been 1,000,000,000%. I like it to be at 1,000,000,000. So, but we're gonna get through it. Johnny, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. It was all right, and overall, I watched a bunch of film. So I'm excited about some of the things that I've been able to see. I watched some UCLA tape, Penn State, Tennessee, and Marshall.
All right, so you want to get into in the notes. The viewers have seen, the fans are already talking. Mike Green is an option at 11. He Mike McGlinched Josh Connerly at the Senior Bowl, had other great reps at the Senior Bowl, has great measurements and production. He's not Shamar Stewart, says BN Suave.
Well, look, they are very different players. Shamar Stewart is more of a comp along a Myles Garrett as far as body type. He's not a Myles Garrett as far as the production in college, or the quite athletic, just pass rush monster. Now, I will say this about Shamar Stewart is that his measurables are almost identical to Myles Garrett. So he's on the the bigger, stout, big time defensive end, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, big bodied, 275 plus kind of defensive end that would be there. And that's also because he has cut weight. He played last year, this is Shamar Stewart, at 290, and at the combine he was like 277. So he's dropped about 13 pounds, and he looked much more explosive. Now, you mentioned Mike Green, Mike McGlinching, Josh Connerly. I'm trying to upload that clip I have on my phone, but it's taking forever. The Wi-Fi is down here. I think we have an issue with our switch in the building, and so I'm running everything off of my hotspot, and it's taking forever to upload from my phone. Not sure why, so I'm going to upload only one video. Hopefully, it's that one that comes across, and we'll see if I can't get that clip up for everybody. But Mike Green projects much more like a Von Miller type. And, so his measurables are very much on par with a Von Miller. With that kind of size, Von Miller was a little under 250 coming out of college, and Mike Green's like 248. He's much more of that burst step quickness guy, but also can win with power. What he does really well is convert the speed rush to power. And I think he has some of those violent hands in this draft class as far as from defensive ends. So there's a lot to like about Mike Green, but there's just the biggest questions about Mike Green. have to do with the allegations, which we will get to. But the first question that we have to ask is Mike Green even worthy of the 11th overall pick? Where does he fall in this draft class? And so that's the question we're trying to answer. And that's what I spent much of Saturday watching through their game against Ohio State trying to figure out.
So one thing too, is there something to be said about the fact that he was charged, being accused of sexual assault 2 times?
Well, we'll
Is
get
that
it. We'll we'll
something?
we'll get into that. That will, like I said before the show, Adam. You remember what I said before the show, that we will cover the allegations at the end, because we have to first
Oh,
figure out
no, I didn't
is
catch that.
okay. Well,
I don't listen when you talk. Let's get
that's
that out
true.
of the way.
We all know that by this
No.
point. But the question is he even worth number 11? And so we're going to take a look at the film and see what this says. I was trying to hand it smoothly over to you, Adam, to buy time for me to pull up some clips
Yes,
to get these loaded. I was hoping for that smooth transition, but
F
we are not
minus.
here. We are not a smooth criminal. So here it's against Ohio State. One, I'm still trying to figure out why this guy is ranked like 300th or 400th in prospects. This is Josh Fryer. He played every game for Ohio State last year, gave up 1 sack, and you're going to see it in these clips. He moves people in the run game. So I've watched 4 Ohio State games now, actually trying to watch other defenses, and Josh Fryer kind of pops off the film. I don't know why he's got great measurables. He's 6'4", 35-inch arms, but that's not the topic of this. Mike Green is not going to go Josh
You're
Fryer.
just saying.
What they're going to do is that they're going to block down. They're going to run a little play action here. They're going to fake this inside with the running back, and they're going to have this tight end try and take on Mike Green, and then the running back also sit here for help on him as well. And this does not go well. You're going to see the violence that we talk about from Mike Green as far as the violent hands. Watch what he does to this tight end. I'm gonna run this full speed. Hopefully, I don't have the issues I had last time. And here it goes. Okay, so let's back this up. It's running a little choppy here. Watch what he does. Watch him throughout the play, because he's gonna get up here and he's gonna toss this tight end. Just toss him like midget tossing. That's what's about to happen here. So drives him in, then toss. That was the running back who had to try and finish him off here. Let's run it at half speed. You're going to see the violent hands. He's going to get in here and just win with hands. Comes in, shocking power into the shoulders, completely blast the tight end up. Great hand fighting here. Keeps going. Then the running back comes over to help. He gets his arm underneath this guy and tosses him out of the way. Just violent hands and power. This is one that's not going to be chalked up to necessarily a pressure, but he flushes the quarterback. And this is what I saw a lot. I mean, this game was a little hard to watch because everybody else but Mike Green on Marshall was very lackluster. And I think Ohio State had like 8 plays of 50 plus in here. They would just get free and guys were gone. But if Mike Green had had more opportunities in this game against Ohio State, where it wasn't just where everybody else was able to let him have some opportunities there, he probably would have had like a 3 or 4 sack game, and we would be seeing even more highlights, and his draft stock would be even higher. They ran about 20 wide receiver screens, Ohio State did, in this game. So he just didn't have a lot of ops there for pass rushes and stuff because of that. But I mean, my goodness, it was something. So I'm gonna pass it over to you, Adam, while I find my next clip here.
So one thing is, I like that it is against Ohio State, because the one argument that people would say, if it was against, you know, the Texas Nuns of Corpus Christi, that that it's like, well, okay, the competition, of course, he's throwing around someone like a rag doll, and you're throwing Ohio State like a rag doll, who all they did was win the national championship. So there's no argument that says, well, look at the competition. I mean, that was pretty crazy going up against the tight end and the running back, like you showed.
Yeah, and so now he's gonna go one-on-one against Josh Fryer, and this is where you're gonna see the special qualities that Mike Green has that, for me, put him in the top 15 of this draft as far as talent. Now, the issues which we'll talk about that might push him out of the top 15 are off field. But this, what I'm about to show, is why he is even in the conversation for top 15. So he's going to come in here with a speed rush, and he's going to go after this outside shoulder. You're going to see the quick. I'll do this full speed, and then we'll slow it down so you can see it even clearer. He's going to get this fast first step. He's going to duck under. You're going to see the bend. He's going to throw in a little cross chop here, which is again taking the inside arm and chopping away the outside arm of the tackle. But he doesn't even really even have to do that because his first step is so bursty. But he still has that ability. He's going to chop it down, and then you're going to see the bend around the corner. This is going to be another pressure. It's not going to be a sack because, again, they don't hold up on the other side, and the quarterback's just going to run away and throw it. I think this is going to be an incomplete pass. So you're going to see the burst and bend. That is what makes him special. This is what reminds you of Von Miller. So here we go. We're going to see it full speed. I slowed it down to, I forgot I had slowed down the clip to half speed when I played it. So
You're like full speed.
We'll go here. All right, let's try this again at 150%. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is not turning out the way I thought it was. We're going to do this at
We'll do it live.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. It was just a problem with the playback. So you see how quickly he wins. Let's run this again. Bring it back to the top. I have it where he is. You're going to see it burst and bend. And then we'll run it at half speed so you can see this true. I mean, that is lightning quick. You have to play it at half speed to understand how fast he won this. So here's the burst, the cross chop, dip, the bend, and then the burst to the quarterback. That is at half speed so we can see it. It is so fast. And he even takes a false step there. So there's even room for improvement. But that is as good of burst and bend as you will see, period. That reminds you of Von Miller. That's why he's my comp for Mike Green. I think this is the second coming of Von Miller coming out of this draft.
Now, talk through a little bit about that false step and what you're seeing there and what that means.
Okay, so when we say a false step, that means what that means is you're going to see his feet plant. I'm going to try and pause this at the right moment. So he's got his right foot back, his left foot up. You want to see him just take a step, right foot come up and be the first step out of here. What you're going to see is he's first going to take a step back with that right foot and then go forward. That's what we call a false step. So, so you see a little stutter there with that right foot. It's going to be, it's hard to see because this guy comes across right at that time, but you can see a little stutter with his right foot.
See it. Yeah.
So, that's what I'm talking about a false step. So you can see a little stutter,
like
and then
he's trying to juke out the lineman at first instead of just out.
It's like he's trying to time out the snap, and it's just not quite on there. But even with a false step, it is scary how much burst he has. I mean, he beats the tackle immediately. So again, just not to beleaguer the point, the guy has the traits of a top tier pass rusher, high end top tier pass rusher. So now here we're going to see him again going against Josh Fryer. So he beat him with the speed. Okay. So now what you're going to see is he's going to come in like he's going to do a speed rush, but he's going to transition to a power rush, and then he's going to spin and beat it. So this shows you that not only does he have the physical traits to win, he also is polished enough as a pass rusher to understand how he won last time. To now, I'm going to come with a counter to that, and so there's a pass rush plan. That's what it tells you, that he's not just coming out and saying, I'm just going to try and win, instinctually or on the fly. There is a plan to the rush. So we'll see this here again. He's going to come out, and then he's faking the inside, and spins to the outside, and he gets a sack. So again, you're seeing this. It's a double deke basically. I'm going to set you up like a speed rush, then fake like a power rush inside, which is usually the counter, but then come with the spin move outside. So very polished rusher here is what you see. And it wasn't just because of who he was going against that he got all this. So he's faking the pass, the speed rush, and then the spin and the balance, and then the closing speed to the quarterback. I mean, guys, this is as good as it gets as a prospect for a rusher. When we talk about elite traits, he has them all. He has all the elite traits. I'm gonna see if my photo or my clip did not upload to the drive. I'm so sorry. It's just issues here. But I do have that clip from the Senior Bowl from somebody's X account. So we'll watch it there. This is from Kevin Knight. We're going to share Kevin Knight here. Way to go, Kevin, for having our back here with this. So he's up at the top. This is Mike Green. He's going against Josh Connerly, who's projected to be a late second or late first round pick at tackle out of Oregon. And we're going to see what he does to him here. He's just going to line up. I mean, takes him right under the chin. And that's as brutal of a win as you can get.
The crowd, the reaction.
Yeah. Could you hear it on everybody's end? I didn't know if everybody can hear it. Sometimes it plays audio, sometimes it doesn't.
No, we could hear it.
Yeah, and Chad's saying the same thing. Mike Green has the best tape I've seen. He didn't watch Abdul Carter. Would love him as a player, but like we've said, it's the off-field stuff. As the tape, as the measurables, as everything. I was sitting next to Brad Graham at the Senior Bowl, and we were just oozing over Mike Green, the player that was out there. And I think he was posting different clips of Mike Green and was saying, the Mike Green hive is very active, and it was very true. As a prospect, just fantastic. I'm going to try and send a file from my phone Bluetooth for a second. So, Adam, I'll let you cut in here for a sec.
Yeah. So be sure, first of all, some housekeeping. Those of you that have hashtag JD49, of course, to boost the algo. Thank you for that. If you have not done that yet, be sure to do that. Also, let's do another algo boost super quick. Is your Final Four winner. So I will, just for funsies, I will throw in hashtag Duke. I'm not a Duke fan, but I just think they're going to win. So while we're boosting the algorithm, a little Final Four action. Those of us that partake, I'm wearing my UCLA slash Golden State Warriors Your Team Sucks shirt for today. So the Warriors are trash without Steph Curry. We know that for sure.
I'll be honest. I do not know a single team in the Final Four. I'm not a March Madness guy. Like I'm just not. I'm usually in the middle of thinking about the NFL draft and watching tape when I get chances. So I mean, I spent like 5 hours I think on Saturday watching film, and I got through like 3 games. So just watching a lot of college tape right now.
Shout out to 49ers Throwback. Thanks for the super chat. It says, looks like Dre Greenlaw wanted to be LB1 and is going to do that with Denver. Brad Graham knew it all along. despite that 49ers made a better offer. And yeah, I did see that the
Mhm.
49ers went 49ers brass went in and beat even the offer, but it was, alas, a last ditch effort, and Dre had already made up his mind. Bittersweet for him, he admitted, but he wanted kind of a fresh start. You can't really hate on that. The 49ers did their due diligence, it sounds like.
And they gave, I mean, they did what they could. At some point, it takes two to tango. Dre Greenlaw wanted to be a captain. He wanted to be the leader of a ship. He wants to make his name known, not as Robin to Batman. He wanted to be Batman. And so that's what he was offered, more money by San Francisco. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan flew to Texas to talk to him, to meet with him, see if they could sway it even more.
Right.
But it wasn't. He wanted to be out of Fred Warner's shadow. All the love for Fred, but he wanted to be out of Fred Warner's shadow. And look, this is where I also then have issue when people, you know, Brad knew that for a little bit, but he wasn't gonna out some sources or anything. And people, he would hint at stuff and people would be like, people don't have sources or whatever. I can tell you, um, when Brad says something, we can usually take it to the bank. He's very careful
Yeah.
about what he says and where he gets his information from. So big shout out to Brad. He's a phenomenal content creator. Appreciate him and everything that he does for the 49ers community. And I will just say, he very much, when he says something and it comes from a source, he's very careful about what he doesn't share a lot of what he hears. We'll just tell you that. So he nailed it on that one. And because he'd been told that, and that Dre wanted to go be somewhere where he wasn't going to be in Fred's shadow, where he would get the notoriety, because there's going to be a bigger contract that comes with that. Fred Warner, if Dre wants to be the highest paid linebacker in the league, and create his legacy that way, then he cannot do it being next to Fred Warner. He will always be one notch down from Fred Warner. And that's what it is. So, yeah.
Crazy that we had those dudes next to each other for that good amount of time. I mean, that's how we have to look at it for now, is especially if he really takes off. We'll see if he stays healthy. It's not like we play Denver twice a year or anything close to that. So good luck, him and Huff. But it
I
is
mean,
a
I
little
think you can
crazy.
say that San Francisco has been blessed with the two greatest linebacker duos of the last 20 years, the last 30 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Between Willis and Bo and Fred and Dre, that we've been blessed to see some phenomenal linebacker play. So let's appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what the Bears pick with Briggs and Urlacher. I mean, it was right there. I mean, so very cool. Okay, so we were, I don't know what we were doing. I was informing you that for the first time since 2008 and the only time in history of college, that all four number one seeds made the Final Four. Just so you know, Johnny: Auburn, Florida,
Well,
Duke,
all right,
and Houston.
Auburn.
They are
I'm in
now a
Alabama,
basketball
man.
school. They're not a football.
I am in Alabama. We don't care for Auburn too much,
Alabama
to be
just
honest.
lost. They almost made it to the Final Four.
Look, I'm not making this as a value statement. I'm just saying, you said the name Auburn, and immediately that makes us all just go, okay. I'm just saying that's what it is in Alabama. So
Yeah. No, totally. All right. So, okay, you couldn't get the clip, you said, right? It didn't download
it's sending,
properly.
it's just moving really slow. It's moving really slow. It's like 10% done because I'm sending it via Bluetooth. So it
Fair.
might be ready by the end of the show. We'll see. We'll see. It's not that great of a clip either. So
We're
and
hyping
I've
it up
already,
and it's like, meh.
yeah, I mean, like I shouldn't have said anything. It's just
Yeah.
not as it's
It would
not
have
as
been a
good
fun surprise.
as I want.
Now it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, Zach coming in hot. Glad to see some of this stuff coming out because I'm tired of people and even folks that I tend to respect their opinions, coming out of the woodwork angry at the 49ers brass for not re-signing several players. Yeah, like there's motives that are now coming out, and now we understand that, hey, our guys are not, the brass at least, are not as bad as what we are thinking it is. And that when John Lynch says that he has a plan, I said this in about a week ago, that I know it's frustrating and I know it is like gut wrenching, but at the end of the day, I do respect and I do trust John Lynch. Now, I don't know where he's taking us, but I do overall trust him. Johnny, what do you think?
Well, I think, yeah, that there's one, and we talked about this during the defensive coordinator search, that there was probably calls and things being done that we weren't hearing about. We'll get to the second one here in a second. He's given us a couple big talking points.
Holy cow.
Um, but and we appreciate Zach a whole lot. But I think it goes back to when the defensive coordinator search was happening after they fired Steve Wilkes, that it was announced that Nick Sorensen was hired, and everybody just kind of assumed that the 49ers didn't go after Bill Belichick, that they didn't go after Jeff Ulbrich, that they didn't go after Steve Spagnuolo. And then it came out after they'd hired Nick Sorensen, like a month later, that Shanahan called Bill Belichick and gave him an open-ended coaching offer, meaning anything you want to come do. You want to be defensive coordinator, you have complete control over it all, and we will pay you whatever we have to pay you to get you here to be a coach here. You don't have to answer to me. Basically, he was giving him like full autonomy, and Bill Belichick just didn't want to do that, right? Apparently, he was more interested in going and recruiting at the college level. Now he's moved on to recruiting college football players. So that, he wanted to go that route. Adam did not catch my reference at all because he's staring at other things. But I have to give you a hard time about that because you didn't react at all. And so I know you're not listening to me, but hopefully everybody else is. That they reached out to Steve Spagnuolo, and Steve Spagnuolo basically parlayed that into a pay raise from the Chiefs. That we found out they requested an interview with the Jets, and Woody Johnson blocked the request for Jeff Ulbrich. Everybody just assumed, though, that they didn't do any of this because we didn't hear about it. We didn't hear about any reports of this happening. And then it was like a month after they hire Nick Sorensen, it's announced that this happens, and everybody goes, "Oh, well, I mean, so what if they tried? They failed." When a month before, everybody was saying, at least try, at least try. Well, they did. We found out that they did do all of that you said was going to be, enough to satisfy you. And then it turns out that didn't satisfy you either. You can only do so much. You can offer Bill Belichick, but the guy had, won 6 Super Bowls that he didn't want to go be on somebody else's staff. You have Jeff Ulbrich. You can't hire somebody away that is currently under contract. And then the same thing, I say all of that just to say that the same thing was happening this cycle, is that everybody's just assuming that the 49ers aren't making an offer to Dre Greenlaw or aren't willing to pay him. Now they were releasing guys, but they were releasing guys that I really don't feel were anywhere close to the value that their contracts were at. Like Malik Collins. Suddenly everybody became a huge Malik Collins fan after he was released. I didn't think he was really worth the value of $9 million. I think he was more worth along 5. They may have offered him a spot if he took a pay cut, and he didn't want to do that. Was released, got to test the open market, and went to the Browns. That's what it is. Same thing with Javon Hargrave. He was not worth the $24 million that he was going to be due this year. So they move on, and he goes and he gets signed somewhere else. Talanoa Hufanga, as far as we know, they did offer him something. He wanted to go be somewhere else, and Denver was willing to pay him a lot of money. Good for him. Great for him. But it doesn't mean, that the 49ers didn't, try and make something happen there. Charvarius Ward, we knew bad memories in California with what happened with their little girl. So no hard feelings there. No hard feelings there at all. Zach
Right.
coming in with another big super chat. He says the defense was garbage last year, and it was. Dre would have been great. He would have, like, Dre made a huge difference on that defense when he was there. Again, the issues are availability is not there, but the defense, like, people getting upset that Leonard Floyd's gone, Malik Collins is gone, Javon Hargrave is gone. Um, Malik Collins was a leaky sieve against the run. He's a pass rusher. He had a he and we pretty much knew that. The issue was that you had to have Javon Hargrave there and him be healthy and him be effective the whole time. Have Jordan Elliott as the rundown guy, and then Malik Collins come in as a specialist pass rusher. Obviously, the 49ers are looking at that and saying, we can't rely on you because we can't just have a specialist pass rusher that you're the backup if Jordan Elliott goes down, that now we can't stop the run because then we'll never see your abilities as a pass rusher, and we can't pay $9 million for that. So I think obviously the 49ers are going to go into the draft and they're going to look to get a defensive tackle that can do multiple things. And I again, we've talked about him about 100 times. I love the idea of Jamari Caldwell there. I like the idea of him and Jordan Elliott there, and Evan Anderson. I think that as a 3-person rotation would be pretty solid. I think you can add another guy like an Omar Lott in there as well, who's more of a pass rusher, or Aeneas Peebles, who's a more pass rusher. You may go for the high fences swing with Walter Nolan. I think there's some technique issues there, but as a pass rusher, dude's completely dominant. I don't love him against the run. Too many technique. He just reminds me too much of Javon Kinlaw. But I think as a pass rusher, we saw those flashes from Javon Kinlaw. He can provide that. So I think this defensive line needed to be rebuilt. They just were not good enough against the run. Leonard Floyd was not tough and not strong enough at the point of attack against the run. And so, it has to be rebuilt. It might be Mike Green. Mike Green was solid against the run in a lot of ways. And I think that he can come in and he can provide an instant game changer. Now, the questions with Mike Green are going to be about the off-field stuff. That's what it comes down to. Is the talent level is there? Absolutely. If for me, if the off field's not there and Mike Green is available at 11, you take Mike Green, you run that draft card in. I think he is one of the top 10 players out of this draft, without a doubt. And so, because of the fact that you're going to have teams reaching on quarterbacks like the Browns, who have to get a quarterback,
Right.
that gives you an immediate opportunity to get a top 10 player in this draft. And I think Mike Green is one of those guys.
Now, here's what I want to ask you. So let's go over this then with the draft. Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, New England, Jacksonville, Vegas, Jets, Carolina, the Saints, and the Bears. Those are the teams that pick ahead of us. And is there a team that jumps out to you that says they absolutely need a type of player like this, like Mike Green?
I think the bigger thing is that Mike Green right now, a lot of projections put him at 15. And so when you're at 11, some people might say that's a reach, but no, you go get him at 11. That's what I say. I think now it all comes down to, again, 100% of Mike Green comes down to how the homework on these allegations comes back. I think that when you look at those teams like Tennessee, their offensive line is horrible. I mean, horrible. They have got to address their offensive line. Las Vegas, they need some weapons on offense. They do not have any weapons on offense. I think Jonty makes a lot of sense there. A lot of people have been projecting Jonty there. They have questions at quarterback. They have questions at running back. They have questions at receiver. They have questions at offensive line. Their offensive side of the ball is really bad. So they've got to address that with some blue chip talent. Just really looking over that the Carolina maybe, but again, they've got to address offensive line. I think they've got to get some better protection for their quarterback, and see, is he the guy? That's what I think. I think that's where they're going to be at. They've got to address the offense. Their offense was horrible last year. Like, they were literally, I think, the worst offense in the league. So they've got to address that side of the ball. Again, we talked about Cleveland, that they've got to get a quarterback. They have to get a quarterback on a rookie scale, a rookie pay scale. Like, they have to. They don't have another choice here. That's the only way that they can even be functional as a team next year. They have to get a quarterback on a rookie contract, and they have to have a way to get out of this Deshaun Watson situation. So they have to go quarterback. It might be Jackson Dart, might be Shedeur Sanders. It's somebody. They're going to be going somewhere in there. So when I look at how that top 10 is kind of squaring out, there's going to be one of three guys. Three, I think, of the top end defensive line talent that slips. It's going to be Mason Graham, it's going to be Abdul Carter, or it's going to be Mike Green. And I think Abdul Carter and Mason Graham have kind of separated themselves so much as far as top end talent that I don't think they can get out of the top 10. If what I think happens is if one of those two guys is still there at number 9, somebody's going to trade up. Somebody from like 15 or 16 is going to trade up if they're still there at number 9, number 10. So I just don't think either one of those guys is going to fall, but I don't think Mike Green's going to be somebody that moves into that spot. That's where I think, because I think those guys are clearly ahead of them. I just think when you look at the talent and everything else, how it's kind of squaring out, that's how it falls. But when we get to the allegations with Mike Green, there's 2 separate sexual assault allegations. And this is where the big discussion around Mike Green really centers on. There was an allegation from when he was in high school. And what he said is that there was no charges were ever filed, that there was no injuries ever reported, that he has completely denied any of the allegations of what happened from his high school allegations. The bigger question comes about what happened at Virginia, because he was at Virginia and there was allegations made against him, and then he was suspended by Virginia and ended up transferring to Marshall. Yeah. And that's when he transferred to Marshall. So the allegations were that the Charlottesville Police Department was notified on August 29th, 2022 of an alleged sexual assault involving Green that occurred around 1 a.m. This is according to the New York Times. 3 days prior and so they were called on August 29th, that on August 26th at 1 a.m. that this had happened on West Main Street in Charlottesville. There were no reported injuries nor any damaged or stolen property, according to Charlottesville Police Sergeant Chris Huber. The investigation of the case has been suspended, is what Huber said about that allegation. University of Virginia would not comment on the situation, and Marshall would not comment on the situation. This is what Green said at the combine about this. He said, "There's accusations out there. I've never been questioned. I've never been asked. Nobody ever asked me a question about what happened before I departed Virginia. It was just accusations that caused me to leave." When asked to clarify that he was denying the accusations, Green responded, "Correct. Once again, I've done nothing wrong." And he went on to say this: "You can ask anybody that knows me how I am. I think what everybody just needs to know is I'm not this guy that everybody's trying to portray me to be. That's online. That's talking about something that they know that they don't know about." And he spoke for about 20 minutes with reporters and people asking him about these things. When addressing his relationship with Tony Elliott, the coach of Virginia, he said, "To this day, Elliott's a guy that I can talk to. I have no grudges against the University of Virginia." Because of the allegations while he was in high school in Williamsburg, Virginia, Green signed a zero tolerance policy at Virginia. And so what Green said is, "I could have stayed at the university if I wanted to. After I got suspended, I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to go somewhere that I was able to lay down a foundation, and that's what caused me to enter the transfer portal and go to Marshall." And so, when asked if he's concerned whether this is going to affect his draft stock, he said, "I'm not worried at all. I have no concerns and I have no problem with talking to these teams about it because I know who I am and I know the truth. Everybody else that thinks they know the truth, that's not my concern right now." So what it appears is that, at least with the Virginia situation, that there was allegations made And Virginia, again, there was no seemingly from the police that there was no substance to the allegation, no proof of any kind, but Virginia was going to suspend him anyways because of the previous thing that happened in high school. Again, he has denied those allegations, but the question comes down to is one, you don't want to have some of these life ruined because of false accusations. I think we do need to be aware of that. Number two, though, you cannot just write it off and says, well, he said he didn't do anything wrong. There's been a whole lot of people who claim they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And when they obviously did. So you can't take his word for it. I think that sometimes the term that's there is you can trust, but you have to verify. So if you trust Mike Green, you have to verify. If you trust the allegations, then you have to verify. Either way, I think there needs to be some clarity, and this is where the homework is going to be done. They're going to call the police departments. They're going to ask these people what exactly were the conditions of it. You're going to try and get that complete story, and then you're going to ask Mike Green. You're going to say, tell us yours, and where are the holes in here? We have to try and see what's what. Mike Green obviously is standing on that he didn't do anything. Marshall is kind of sitting here, or Virginia was kind of sitting here in this, well, we're not going to take chances whether he did or not, especially when you look at this during the time frame of 2022. There's a lot of things out there. What is it? I don't know. We don't know, but we do know that the 49ers are bringing him for a top 30 visit, according to Chase Sr. So, I think what you're going to have here is you're going to have two gut reactions from people. You're going to have people either say he's denied these things, there's very little evidence, if any, and so he's a guy that you can go pick at 11. You feel comfortable with that. And even if there's, he's put himself in a situation where some things can be said, maybe even if they aren't true, but he still shouldn't have been there. We need some rough guys on the defensive line. I've seen people say that. That's, you really like the tape. You really like the talent of Mike Green, and you're willing to overlook the possible character things there. On the other side, you have people that say any allegations off my board completely, no matter if they're unfounded or not. For me, I want to see what I'm going to trust through the process the 49ers have. What we do know is the 49ers are scared of anybody that has red flags. That they're just, ever since the Reuben Foster situation, they kind of overlooked that about his red flags during the combine and said, okay. And then that led to issues because what it showed is somebody who thought they could just do kind of whatever they wanted, and he got himself in trouble, and he couldn't stay out of trouble. What I will trust here is I don't trust, absolutely some things with the 49ers brass. This is one that I'm going to trust them on because they're going to get information that we don't have. They're not going to share it until, if they draft him, they will share something.
Right.
If that's the only way we know, we will actually find out what they know is if they draft him. So I'm going to trust that they're doing their homework on him. They're going to they want him to sit down and across the table from them, look him in the eye and read him out and have this. So, this situation is what it is. It all comes down to what does the homework on this off field say about Mike Green? If it comes back and they don't feel comfortable, you know what? Then you move on. Now, my biggest concern is that you're going to end up having a kid like this go to the Eagles or the Chiefs, who we know don't have any qualms about players with character concerns, and they're going to get a top 10 player in this draft. That's what I don't want to see, but it'll be what it'll be. I will not be upset at the 49ers if they pass on Mike Green, because that tells me most likely there was something through this interview and their homework that said there was enough cause for concern here. So, because for me, if there's any doubt in your mind that he did this with that kind of a crime, no, you don't get anywhere close to a guy like that. So, right. But if you feel very confidently that no, this was somebody who did not do this, then you stand by that, and you may feel like you're standing on an island, but you stand on that. But again, if you have any doubts, he's off your board. You don't even look at him in the 6th round. That's what I think.
Yeah, which he won't be there at that point. I mean, someone is gonna for sure take a chance, even if there is some shady stuff. It's still a little bit unsure, but a little shady. There is one team out there. I mean, someone will take him, but yeah, I will be interested to see how if they go defense, if they go offensive line. We talked about the defensive line being in abundance for this draft. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk through it more. I'm sure that's one thing that you can count on. You cannot count on if the 49ers are going to get Mike Green or not, but you can count on a one Johnny Dell providing all the best insights and reports and videos that are downloaded through Bluetooth when they come in.
It's still transferring. It's about
You,
60% done.
you can count on us for. So we will hopefully come to you on Friday if Johnny's hotspot is still working or
Oh,
the
so
storm.
so we can address this. Chad bringing this in. This is a great point, Chad, and this is why I wanted to show Mike Green's Ohio State tape. So what I
Mm,
did is earlier in the day, I actually pulled up Tennessee's game against Ohio State. So I wanted to see apples to apples, both
yeah,
Pierce and Mike Green going against Josh Fryer. And I will tell you, Mike Green was just on a different level. So, I've seen a lot of James Pierce popping as far as possible there at 11. For me, Mike Green would be, again, if the off fields check out talent level, no question, number 11. James Pierce did not move the needle for me in that game. Now, I haven't watched his other games, but just again, when you compare apples to apples going against Ohio State and Josh Fryer, when I look at Pierce and I look at Mike Green, there was a clear separation. Now, that's not to say that James Pierce is not a great player and not a quality player. I just would not put him in the top 15 of the draft. Now, we've talked about this as well, that I think the separation between 20 and 100 as far as the players in this draft is not near what it has been in years past. The slots 20 to 100 are very much top end starter the whole way. I think top 20 of this draft is full of blue chip, like Pro Bowl quality players. Now 20 to 100 is going to be full of guys that have potential to get there, and you're going to have a whole lot of just like really quality starters come out between 20 and 100 in this draft. James Pierce is one of those guys. That's how I see this kind of falling out. For me, if I'm looking at defensive end outside of Shamar Stewart, Abdul Carter, Mike Green, I'm looking at, like, again, and we'll see. We'll see. I've reached out to him. We'll see if he comes on the channel. Reached out to Femi Oladeo because I have a bunch of clips of his from their game against Penn State. It was phenomenal. His tape against Penn State was absolutely fantastic. But I want to see if I can get him on the channel and break down his own film. So that's what we're trying to do there.
that'd
I've
be
reached out to
amazing.
a number of guys, and just they haven't even seen the messages yet. So got it. Takes two to tango. We're trying to get some guys on, but I hope that kind of clears that up. If it was for me, again, somebody there, I would almost lean into Femi just because I think his ceiling is actually a little bit higher than James Pierce. I think his measurables as far as arm length, lower base power is just a little bit better there. He's just very raw as a polished pass rusher. So that's kind of how I'm seeing that. But as far as when I just looked at the Ohio State, as a comp for both Pierce and Mike Green, it was Mike Green.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So yeah, again, we will come to you on probably Friday. We'll have the storms moved out of the area, out of Bama. Hopefully, or maybe not. I don't know.
See this
It's the
this is what
season.
we're talking about. Look, I'm not saying I want a virus in the locker room. What I'm saying is, we don't know a lot. There's a lot that we don't know about this situation, and so I'm going to trust if they draft him that is not the case. Now,
Right.
if they don't, then I will say, you know what? There was enough there that they had concerns, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Um, as a talent
I don't
level,
know.
Mike Green is there, but that's where I'm at. To assume that is 100% what the situation. We do not have enough information to know for certain. So you can say that I want a virus in the locker room, but that's not the
No.
case. No,
Yeah.
absolutely
No.
not. I can
How
tell
could
you,
anyone
I
think
would
that?
never, ever, ever, ever want anybody who potentially did what Mike Green's being accused of in our locker room. And anybody
Eric.
that knows me would know that absolutely.
Yeah. As Eric
Yeah.
points out, he just spent the last 5 minutes like explaining this. In no way, shape, or form are either of us would say that, yeah, we want that kind of virus or whatever. So Dre checking in.
I love Dre. I love Dre. We've been messaging a lot. Dre keeps trying to do this to me. He keeps commenting on like X and stuff. He's trying to nail me down on who'd you pick at 11. He's trying to nail me down on this. And Dre, here's where I'm at. Okay. I don't think that there is a clear, this is the 11th ranked player in this draft. I don't think that actually exists. Because every team's board's top 11 is going to be different, because like the 49ers are not going to have their top 11 is going to look different than Tennessee's, because Tennessee might put a quarterback on there. It's going to look different than the Browns, because the Browns are going to put a quarterback on there. The 49ers probably don't even have a quarterback in their top 50. So like their draft board's going to look different. For me, when I say, okay, who could be available, there's like 10 guys who could be available there. There's talk that Ashton Jonty could be available at 11. Now, do I think he would be the best player available if he's at 11? Probably. Do
Yeah,
I think
probably,
that's
but
who
we're
I
not.
would pick? No. But if
No,
he's
right.
available at 11, then there's somebody else I'm thinking about that probably won't be there at 11. There may be, maybe Gray Zabel's not there. Maybe Shamar Stewart's not there. Maybe Walter Nolan's not there. That's why I have some difficulties with it. I do the mock draft. We did one. We're gonna do some more, and that's, I think, as it comes down, we'll see a consensus. There's like 7 guys that I feel pretty comfortable about at number 11. Whether or not they're there, we'll see. But that I think have somewhat potential to be there. And if any of those 7 guys aren't there, I'm the trade back kind of guy. But you have to have a team that would be willing to give you something of quality to actually trade back. Otherwise, they will be reaching on somebody. It could be a reach on Gray Zabel at 11. That would be a big reach, I think. I think he's not going to go until the back third of the first round. But if you're sitting there and you say, okay, these other guys that we really like are gone,
Yeah.
maybe
So much
nobody
that
gets a
can play
quarterback
out.
in the top 10. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So much that can play out, from running backs to linemen. What It's way too difficult to say. Um Strawberry checking in as
Yeah,
well.
he's right. If Mason Graham's there, you run that in. I think most of us are just assuming he's not. I mean, it's just hard to see him getting out of the top 10, but wild things happen. Sometimes you have the Falcons sign Kirk Cousins to a huge deal and then draft a quarterback at 8. So, wild things happen in the draft. That's why I love it. It's fun. You get to see, there's teams that just have head scratchers. Sometimes you have the 49ers. Everybody thinks they're going to get a lineman or something else. And then they draft Ricky Pearsall at the end of the first round that people didn't see, had like a late second grade on. And everybody goes, what?
Right.
There's head scratchers. So I
Our
love it.
kicker.
There's so many good options there. I'm not set on any one guy. Like that's where Dre's trying to nail me down. Like, who's gonna be the guy? I'm like, there's like 8 guys I'm comfortable with that I would feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
good for us. We're great.
So Dre's not penetrating the
He's not.
pin down.
He's not. He
Not
keeps trying to
happening.
nail me down. It's not going to happen.
Nope,
It's not going to
he's
happen.
Wyatty. So love it. Yeah, mock drafts, more draft talk, more 49ers talk, of course. Not so much Final Four talk. Won't guarantee any of that. Johnny has no clue what's going on. But
Nope.
you can head over to Sports Idiot Nation, because Titans Idiot, our buddy Ti, he accurately predicted all things Final Four. So you can tune into today's episode. It's out streaming right now, where you get your podcast, and of course on YouTube, Sports Idiot Nation. But we will hang out again on Friday. Maybe there'll be some big news in between now and
And
then.
we'll have more film to go over. I mean, this week is going to be a film grind. So
Attaboy.
I'm going to be looking at a lot of guys. Now I haven't watched a lot of the tackles just because I'm not really great at kind of evaluating tackles. Offensive line like tackles are not that's not in my wheelhouse. I can do better with interior offensive linemen, defensive, and then defensive side of the ball and skill position players. So I'm going to be looking at some linebackers and more defensive line guys. I still got to get to Aeneas Peoples' tape. I really liked him from the Senior Bowl. But I mean, I even want to go see Joshua Farmer from Florida State. He popped at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to go look at his stuff. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I've got to kind of really get more tape on. So,
Sink
I
your
mean,
teeth
there's some
into.
tight ends I got to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So in the meantime, in between time, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.